Hey folks, Frank the Pest here. Well, it's been a long time. I haven't recorded a podcast, probably a month. I'm taking a lot of time off from myself. It's actually Monday. I usually record these on a Saturday or a Sunday when I'm at home. Let me level out my. Give me a second here. Make sure this thing is leveled out. Oh, there you go. It's a little bit better. It's a Monday afternoon. It's 1. I had my lunch. Had a pretty busy morning here at home, doing nothing but sales and admin work and answering phones and making sales. And that's what I'm back to doing again after being able to hire my second tech again. After COVID, I lost the tech. Turns out I rehired the same guy back. His hours had dropped. He couldn't live off of what I was giving him because during that time 2 years ago, I was going through a very stressful time in my life. Most of you already know. If you follow me, I was dealing with the separation, the divorce, my mother's being at home with hospice, taking care of my son by myself for 6 months. The business took a little bit of a dive in the amount of business that was coming in. He got cut maybe 4 to 6 hours a week. He had an opportunity to make $1.50 more an hour working inside in a warehouse. And I said, look, I'm not going to hold you back. Go ahead and take it. I went ahead and went back on the road and started doing service for a year. I took care of my clients. Didn't worry about adding a lot of new clients, only on the GHB side. Didn't take on any lawn clients unless they were unless they were willing to spend between $200 and $400 a month with me. I wasn't taking them on as a client. They weren't my client. So I decided I'm taking back to doing a little bit of chilling. Sometimes I would go to the pool in the afternoon. I would go work out. I decided I'm going to start leveling out again. It's been raining all day, so not a good time for a pool. I'm having a double espresso cortadito. If you don't know what a cortadito is, it's an espresso, not espresso, because I keep calling it espresso. My girlfriend keeps correcting me. I know it's an espresso. Italians would have a fit with me right now. You got a shot. Well, this one's a double shot, and then a splash of milk or cream. It's just it's been cut. So that's what I'm having with my cigar. This is a tatuaje hecho a mano. I don't know what actual one it is. I know it's a tatuaje. I've been enjoying tatuajes lately. For those of you that follow me on YouTube, on my podcast, it's funny, I have so many followers on Facebook that don't even realize I do a podcast. Why are you following me? I lose my mind with some people about the stuff I post, and they're like offended by me. I'm like, dude, I do a podcast. You should know who I am, and at least do some research before you decide to follow somebody. If they're not your cup of tea, unfriend me and move on with your life. It's not going to offend me in one bit. I've been setting I had a whole year to think about a lot of things. Prioritize my life, prioritize my happiness. I bought a new place during that time. I went through a period of burnout, severe burnout. For about 2 years, I battled with chronic fatigue. I got my energy back. It's probably about, I would say 90% back. But I have one problem that is a trigger for me, and that is extreme heat. If I'm out in the extreme heat for 2 to 3 hours in a row, I will shut down the next day. I've been working on the new van. We've been building that out. I'm going to give you a report on that, show you some videos. Check that out because This is a high roof Ram 25 ProMaster that I'm equipping it to do lawn, termite, and GHP with 4 tanks inside a van to be able to manage all of this. This is my dream van that I've been wanting to build for the last 4 to 6 years is what I've been dreaming about this van. So we've got the tanks in, I've got the reels in, we've got the shells in, I've got the floor in, aluminum floor, diamond plate flooring, sealed all around completely, rubber sealed, paneled inside so there's no insulated so it stays cool. We've got nice aluminum shelving in. I've got 3 electric 18-inch reels going in. We're going to have 3 different types of pumps going into this thing. I'm going to be showing it to you little by little so you can see. It's a build out, would cost about $45,000, $30,000 for the build out. I'm doing it myself. Number 1 is I want to show that I can do it. I set goals for myself and things I want to do. It's like a hobby. Some people want to fish, some people want to golf, some people want to buy a sports car, some people want to buy a race car, some people are into photography. I enjoy actually doing some things in my business because I'm handy. I bought myself my own welder. I'm going to build my own rig. I enjoy building things with my hands. Some people like doing woodwork. To me, this is part of my therapy. You know, you could hire somebody to do it. Yeah, pay $35,000. I get it. The build out in materials alone and equipment is going to be around 10 grand. I've already spent about 8,000 on it. I got about another 2 grand to spend. The labor alone would have been easily 30, 40 hours of labor. At $150 an hour. It's a lot. The labor in Miami is very expensive right now. Shop labor. And then if you can find somebody to do it, and if you can find somebody that knows what it is that you're doing, because they don't know how to set up pest control vehicles and what we need. So very difficult, but I'm enjoying that process. So I hired my guy back. You know, he called. You know, he came over. He said, just came over to the house to hang out with me. He's actually a relative. He's my cousin's son, who's in Cuba. And I originally helped him when he got here, and you know, I gave him his first job, and you know, great. And he needed to move on, and the business that he went to go work for, well, didn't work out. They had to cut hours too. Everybody here in Miami suffered. A lot of people in the country did great. Miami always suffered. If Miami gets a cough, the rest of the nation looks like they're doing fine, but we get sick somehow. Give you a little history on Miami, so it's quick demographics so that you understand and you have a reference to why I am having this conversation and why it's important regarding labor, regarding profitability, regarding sales, that you cannot. One of the dumbest questions you can go on a group, on Facebook, on anybody's page and ask is, what are you guys paying for X? It's totally irrelevant. No, but I'm just trying to get a gauge of a window. The window is going to be between here and here, and it doesn't matter because at the end of the day, what can you afford to pay? Number 2, where is your market at that is asking for you to pay for that service? Where's the economy like? Miami, you can't buy a house right now for less than $500,000. And that is in a very low-end neighborhood that chances are you're going to get shot. I'm not joking. So I've always had this argument is the right question to ask is, how do I calculate what I can afford to pay for somebody? How is there accounting formulas, financial formulas that help me? The problem is most of the guys answering the question are answering the question you asked. How much should I pay for a tech? How much should I pay for an admin? How much should I pay for a manager? If you're in New York, in Manhattan, is going to be different than if you're in Butte, Montana. It makes no difference. I got guys saying, oh, I don't pay enough. I made a post over the weekend, and I'm going to read to you the post, and I'm going to show you why it is that I have the perspective of what makes I do in my business what actually makes me happy. I originally did not start a business to become a slave of the business. I started in business so I can be free. So at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, I had my lunch. I worked all morning from early on. I had a caprese salad, caprese, I don't care what you want to call it. Tomato, potato. And I had a glass of wine. And then I did some more work. I handled 2 more calls. I booked 3 more services. And I decided I want to do this podcast. I've been wanting to do a podcast. I've been wanting to do it on this. I haven't had the time. Now I'm out here smoking a cigar. Both of my techs are working, setting up, doing whatever it is they do. And I really don't have to manage them. And I'm going to tell you why I have the perspective I have. I'm giving you my journey, my experience, not my expertise. This is not a podcast, and my podcast is not for the guy who has already 10 employees, does $2.6 million a year, already has figured out how to do this. That's not who my advice is for. My advice is for the technician that is out there who thinks he wants to become a pest control operator because he doesn't feel that his boss is treating him right. Second, to train that guy when nobody's ever trained him and provide the free training that he needs for him to be successful, regardless of whether his company is going to recognize it so he can be better, he can make more money. To help that guy who's a solopreneur who is struggling and understand that your struggle is real. I understand it because there's a thing that people have forgotten when they're $6 million and they're $3 million. They forget that that guy doesn't have the DNA sometimes to be a real entrepreneur. He is a solo operator. He's a solopreneur, which is popular by Dave Ramsey made that term popular, solopreneur. He's really self-employed. 30 years ago, when I said I wanted to be self-employed 40 years ago, everybody laughed at me. You need to go get a career. You need to go to college and get a degree and do this, that, and the other, and go work for a good company. And I tried all that. And I was completely miserable for 20-something years. Tried 5 times to start a business and failed. Almost went bankrupt. I got my way out of everything, paid everybody back every single time. Paid off my school loans. Took me over 10 years to pay off my school loans. Did it all without anybody's help. As a matter of fact, everybody was against me the whole time. My first wife wanted a secure paycheck. I wanted to be in business. Everybody was totally against me in the whole thing, fighting me the whole way without any support. So everything I've done and I've accomplished, I've done on my own, against all the odds. 85% of businesses will fail within the first 5 years. I'm still growing after 12. After 7 years of rebranding and doing a lot of things that everybody said couldn't be done. But I don't do any of these things because I'm comparing myself to, somebody in California, or somebody in New York, or somebody in Terre Haute, Indiana, or even my competitors here in Miami. As a matter of fact, my best competitors haven't gotten past 4 to 5 technicians in the time that they've been, and they got handed businesses from their parents. They were service managers at other companies. They got out of the business and went back in, and they still haven't gotten past 4 technicians. I'm already on my second one. It is a very extremely tough market to do business in. Unless you're going to lie, cheat, and steal, and then you'll get ahead. I don't compare myself to where they're at. I don't care where they're at. But a lot of them, some people take jabs at me. And I really don't care, guys. Understand, when I put out that amount of content, when I do a podcast, when I make the posts that I make, I do it to help the person that is really saying, geez, I wish I could do that, and I don't know how. I wish I could have 3 vehicles. Right now, I'm building the 3rd one. I can get to sit at home and work 30 hours a week. I work the hours that I want to work, when I want to work, how I want to work them. I work on Saturday mornings till noon, doing admin stuff and getting ideas, and I usually will work on my business during those days. Now I'm back to working on my business 80% of the time, working where I was working in my business 80% of the time. I'm back to that again. Hopefully I'll get to go work out because, these are pea shooters. These aren't guns. But I need to work out. I know I need to do it. So one of my goals was to be one of the best paying companies in Miami. Why? Because you hear it all the time in pest control. You hear it where, the industry doesn't pay technicians enough. And here is the thing with, number one is having a podcast like I have, being in the public eye. Everybody feels, especially people who are miserable, that aren't making it, aren't doing anything, to take shots at me. I make myself an easy target. As a matter of fact, most of the time I encourage it because I really bring out people's nastiness sometimes of who they really are. What you comment about me says more about you than it says about me. Because I'm doing my thing, I'm happy. If I post like I did this weekend, I just became the best paying company in Miami. How do you know you're the best paying company? Where did you get that statistic? If that is the best question that you can throw at me, then what it's saying is that you have a lot to envy. You're sad. Most people, when they attack others, they're usually sad people who are hurting. So I have a lot of empathy and compassion. So all you do is post these stupid little comments all day long. Can you post something else? Yeah, during the week, I post probably 6 times a day motivational stuff that you don't comment on. I got friends who say, bro, I want to sign up for your daily motivational podcast. I mean, I don't have one. Because I encourage you all day long. And then I sit here and I get encouraged about what I'm doing and what I accomplished, and I share it with some people. And they're totally envious and green. And then there are those who I respect highly, who make comments who are very thoughtful and thought-provoking and real world, because you know the difference is that the people that I know that are running the 10, 15, 30-person companies. So when somebody who runs a 30-person company gives me advice, I shut the hell up and listen and pay attention. Because that's called humbleness. The fact that I'm loudmouth, that I'm a Cuban, that I talk this way, I talk like a New Jersey, person, because I lived in the Northeast, I did business in the Northeast, that I have this attitude that I don't have a Southern personality, that I'm outspoken, I'm loud, and I'm obnoxious, doesn't mean that I'm arrogant. Don't confuse the two. You're mistaken. When you take a jab at me and say something stupid like, can't you post anything other than these chalkboard things? I shove it right up your tailpipe, and I tell you, yeah, you can unfriend me and go follow somebody else. I don't know why you're even my friend. So, and when you're out there, you got to realize you're not going to please everybody. If you're a people pleaser, you're screwed. I'm not a people pleaser. I'm not out there to please you. I'm posting my stuff to get my own jollies out of purely what I consider to be important to me, my journey, my experience, my thoughts, and you're welcome to disagree all you want, but here's the problem. You don't have enough context to disagree because you don't have my experience. You only have your experience. But if you sit across the table from me for a couple hours, you will understand why it is that I do what I do. Number one is I struggle in myself with multiple personalities. Yeah, all of you who are entrepreneurs have multiple personality disorder. Let me show you, let me explain it to you. You've got the technician inside of you that is saying, this is the way it's entomologically done, because here's what the entomology tells you, and here's what the chemistry tells you. And then you over here, you got the salesperson and saying, but if I don't sell this, even though this is telling me I shouldn't, I won't eat today. Then you have the business entrepreneur inside says, yeah, you guys need to go out and sell, and you need to do better service. And the entrepreneur says, because I'm coming up with all these ideas that I need to do. And guess what? You're the same person. This is what the solopreneur, this is what the guy who is by himself. And then on top of that, you have the administrative side says, but if you guys are doing all this, you're driving me crazy because I can't figure out, where is Tompkin? Where is Tompkin? Here I am. And you're these three guys, the manager is going, wait. If you guys don't get together, it's going to be chaos. And you're managing all this, and it's like having multiple personality disorder all the time when you're a solopreneur. And you know why? Because if you let your salesman get out, like I do, because I was a salesman for 20 something years before I became an entrepreneur. And when I go out and sell, I go crazy. But here's what restrains me is the fact is when I didn't have a tech and I couldn't hire, and COVID and nobody could hire, and you don't have an HR department, and you don't have a recruiting department, and you don't have the things that everybody tells you have to have, you got to go do this yourself until you can find somebody. And you go sell, you're going to be working 18 hours, like my buddy Christian is. I did the 80-hour a week, 100-hour a week. Until you run your system down, your immune system runs down, you have something happen in your life that is unforeseen, that stresses you. The death of a family member, the death of a child, something that floors you. I had a call from a fellow follower who listens to me, and he says, I'm burned out, I want to sell the business, I'm looking to sell it. And I said, well, unless you've got $500,000 to $750,000, nobody's going to offer you a whole lot for a route. You can only find a local company. And then he says, well, I'm burned out, I'm expecting too much of myself, I'm running myself ragged, I'm frustrated, I'm angry, I'm going through all these emotions. And I said, listen, brother, you just need to take a step back. And if you take a step back, he's a father, he's a husband, he's having to deal with his children. I just had a call this morning from another guy saying, you and I need to talk. I'm going down to Miami. I said, come over, bro, anytime you want. He says, yeah, I'm burned out. I can't juggle everything. I got my mother who has cancer. I'm dealing with that. I just can't juggle it all. How do you do it? I said, here's a very simple answer. If you don't answer your phone for a week and you don't make any sales, to deal with your family problem, you disconnect, you turn that phone off, you tell them, I'm gone for a week. And you move all of your services, and you take a week off, you take 2 weeks off, to deal with this problem, to get perspective. Guess what? Nothing is going to happen, except you lose a little bit of business. I had to learn that the hard way. I got my buddy Christian Allen, who is starting his journey on my podcast, and you should be able to see it. He's young, he's ambitious, he's hardworking, he's got work ethic, he's got the right stuff. He's running emergency bat services, and I made the comment, it's going to get old quick. You can do it for a season, but eventually when you have kids, you can't do it anymore because you're going to be burned out. When you have a wife that says, we don't have any time together, it's going to affect your marriage. Your spouses are not always built to your entrepreneurial spirit. So what I do, and then here is the other side of me. I've got the sales side, but I also have the ministry side of me. Deep down inside, I know I'm called to ministry. I'm called to serve people. That's what ministry is. I'm not called to be a priest or a rabbi or an apostle or a prophet. I'm called to serve people. And my service side looks at the human side of what my people go through, and it says, how do I help them be the best they can be? I have a people development side of me that wants to develop people. So when I made the post that I am now officially the highest paid company, somebody challenged me, like, did you ask every employer in Miami-Dade? No, I know from 15 years of doing this, of what people telling me. So the correct post should have been, I should correct myself for this one person who decides he's going to be anal retentive about this. And brother, I love you, but when you make a question like that and you go on the attack, and I know you weren't doing it to attack me, by the way, because it's been an ongoing thread on the conversation. And I'm going to bring up these conversations because they're public, they're not private. Once you post something, you're screwed, especially on a post. Even if it's in a private group, people will get a screenshot of it. But his experience, my experience are different. I got a guy who ran a $6 million company who told me, Frank, you can run a 50% payroll. And that's going to be normal until you get to about $1 million if you're growing. And that's okay. My payrolls are around 45, 48, sometimes 50, sometimes 55. It depends. And I'm doing the sales and I'm doing the admin. When I decided to convert, I've done hourly forever. Okay? I did hourly forever. I started people off when I first started out at 15 an hour. And then I started bumping when I started people out at 16, 17 because the economy here got very expensive. When COVID hit, you couldn't get anybody at $15 an hour to come work for you. It didn't matter. The other thing that people know is in their comments is that they're thinking that by me offering so much, I'm going to have people from other pest control companies jumping ship wanting to come to me. I've set a rule in my company. I don't hire people from other pest control companies. So therefore, I'm not going to steal your employees because I don't want them. Because I don't know how you train them and it's too expensive for me to retrain people. So therefore, I don't hire people from the industry. I don't hire people. I hire people based on their character and the kind of person they are and their aptitudes that I see in them as being a manager for 20-something years, where I see people with management skills, and then I hire for those skills, and then I train them to do pest control. Therefore, I don't have to manage them because I don't nurse people. I can't stand. I am a control freak. I let that be known. My girlfriend let me know that. My daughter let me know that you're a control freak. I said, I am. But I learned to let go once you show me that I can trust you. I let go and I let you run it. I just manage. I observe. So last week, my technician, going back to college, one of my technicians, who was working 30-something hours a week for me, I decided, because I needed more help, I was battling between hiring an admin and hiring another tech. It is more advantageous for me to hire a tech, me do the sales, the marketing. Well, I hired a marketing company, and I have Eric that I hired to do all the videos and all the social media stuff, and my videos and my not only pesky podcast videos, but also my nature pest videos and everything that I do for that, which is where a ton of my business comes from. And then I hired an SEO company. And I've proven over the years that if you hire people with management skills, even though they're not managers, and they don't have management experience, understand, I don't hire with experience. I hire aptitude. And I hire people with the right heart and the right attitude that do the right thing because it's the right thing to do, not because they're getting credit for it. So he went back to college, things got a little off track, so I had a meeting with him. I said, listen, if you're going to have a hard time, I understand. I'm going to restructure the routes. I'm going to give more to this guy of this type of work. You're more efficient at this type of work. Plus, we're building route density now, which was my focus for an entire year to build route density. 1 year, I'm trying to build route density. Now we're finally getting it. Because you can't, listen guys, I know what you're going to throw at me. You got to build culture, that you got to have health insurance, that you got to have 401ks, that you got to have 2 weeks vacation. Well, here's the reality, folks, that some of you have forgotten. Some of you that come from corporate, some of you that have never actually started a business. The fact is that when you first start a business and you're hiring your first 3 to 5 employees, you don't have any of that. You don't have a culture. The culture is you and your personality. You build a culture over time. It's just like building brand. That has to be done with time and adjusted. When you go from 3 employees to 6 employees to 9 employees, your company culture completely changed. As a matter of fact, the people that were with you when you were 1 and 2 person, when you're 5 and 6, those people are not even with you anymore. The number one employment statistic of a micro business, which is what I am, which is 90% of you are listening, I'm going to prove it to you, is the fact that you're a micro business, that you're not creating new jobs every year. You're every 2 to 3 years, 1 year, you're rehiring to fill positions that were vacant, but you're not increasing in numbers. In other words, you've hired 3 people in the last, when you're a 5-person company, you've hired 3 people, but it's been to replace the ones you lost. If you pay well, you have a corporate culture. You don't have a culture. Get that out of your head. That's a myth. You build that over time. Your culture is your personality as an owner. If your personality sucks and you're a bad manager and you're a bad leader, your turnover is going to be high. People will eat a mile of your crap because they need the job, but the moment they can dump you, it's like a battered wife that stays with a guy because he provides the bills. As soon as she can have an affair, she's having an affair. Because you treat them bad. Sometimes you can treat them good and they're still going to have an affair. So the issue is about me becoming the highest paying company because I can't offer health insurance. 2 guys is going to cost me $2,000 a month for health insurance. If I ask my 24-year-old technician who's going to college, do you want health insurance or do you want cash? He's going to say, I want cash. He just bought himself his 2nd brand new car while he was working. He bought 2 new cars. He traded the other one in. He waited like 6 months and said, save your money. And he just bought himself a brand new car. He lives at home with Mom. He's paying his own way through college. He's got partial scholarship, partial grant. and then the other stuff he's paying for himself. Why wouldn't I help that kid be the best he can be for me while he's with me? Because he's going to be gone in the next year. Because he is studying to become a physical therapist. Once he gets his bachelor's, I told him, I'm going to fire you a year before you get your bachelor's. Why? Because I want you to get into your field, and I don't want you to make money with me. You're going to go make less money initially, because he's making about $24 to $25 an hour now. He's not going to make that going in, but if he gets into the industry, he will have a year experience. By the time he graduates, he would have already had sales experience, management experience, a ton of work ethic, and then he has experience in his field, and he's going to be successful, and my ministry side is satisfied. I got to scratch my itch, whatever my itch is. I am not doing this to please everybody because so-and-so decided he's going to have hyper growth, pay 12% production, has a 12% payroll because he's putting all his money into sales and marketing to grow his company. And he already has 5 trucks in the time that I only have 2. I don't care. Because his initial rate is going to be 100% turnover his first year. He has a very simple service. He's not doing the complex stuff. I just took on a client because I consult clients. I don't take on a lawn client right now. Minimum is $120 a month. The average the average person calling me right now to do their lawn is paying $49 a month with a top 3 PCT 100 company, one of the top 10s, and they're totally unhappy. And when I tell them that they're going to have to spend $120 with me to get what they want, oh yeah, we can't afford that because you've been price conditioned, and I'm not going to compete in that arena. I just took on a client, which I haven't taken on a lawn client in the last 3 months. I don't want it. I'm okay. My bills are paid. I'm building a new route. I invested in SEO. I'm saving money in my personal bank account. Why? Because I choose to live a minimalist lifestyle where I don't buy stupid stuff I don't need. I don't go buy expensive toys. I don't travel a whole lot. I take off on weekends. I can sit here and have a cigar while you're stressed out and pissed at the world. I don't need to build my company up because I got a chip on my shoulder because I got something to prove to the world. I'm happy. So the fact that I'm generous, the fact that I'm giving 25% commission, so I don't have to sell those accounts, those GHP accounts. And I told my second lawn tech, I said, hey, do you want to make a lot more money? And I sat him down, and he said, yeah. And I said, why don't I'm paying him $20 an hour. How would you like to make 24, 25 to even up to $30 an hour? He said, yeah. Okay. Are you willing to take all of my Spanish calls? Because he doesn't speak English. He only speaks Spanish. And I said, are you willing to take on all of my Spanish calls? I'll teach you how to sell it. And you take all the calls during the day. When you sell it, I give you access to the system. You send them the contract. They sign off on it. You schedule it yourself. And you manage your time. And you do it however you want. Because none of my guys have a clock in time or a clock out time. And I don't have to manage. He said, can't be done. You got to put a strict time for them because they won't work. I said, no. My part-time tech is producing $13,000 a month on 3 days a week. He takes off Mondays and Wednesdays to go to college. In 3 days, and he asked me, can I come in on Saturdays so I can work more hours? And I said, here's the back and forth on this. I don't want to work Saturday. I don't want to be a company that forces people to work on Saturday. If you service a client on a Saturday, you create a precedent, and once you create that precedent, he's going to expect it every time. You're going to shoot yourself in the head. I would rather you work 10-hour days, push yourself on those 3 days, work longer hours, work later, and not work a Saturday, so that we don't go into that mindset. This is, what do I do on Saturdays? If you want, schedule yourself for the week. Start calling everybody and booking those appointments. Set yourself up on Saturday for 2-3 hours so that you can set yourself up for success. I'm grooming him for management. I'm grooming my other guy now because he's a hustler, because he's doing Uber on the side, because I can't afford him for a full 40 hours yet. So what am I? I'm a businessman, and I'm in the deal-making business. So if this works for that guy and this works for that guy right now, a lot of guys say, I can't hire a guy because I have to pay him, and unless I have this moral code in my head that unless I can pay them $2,000 a month, I will not hire anybody. See, you're in the business of either or, and I'm in the business of being a business person, figuring out what you want over here, figuring out what you want, and if you learn anything from Zig Ziglar, he says, give enough people what they want in life, and you'll have what you want. This one wants to make money so that he can have his house, because he's 30-something years old, he's got a kid, he's got a girlfriend, who he just brought from Cuba, his girlfriend in Cuba, and in 2 years he brought her. He saved enough money. But he's doing Uber at night on the weekends. He's working for me. He's doing odd jobs. When I got a hold of him, he was working 2 jobs. And he says, if you can pay me $600 a week, I can quit my 2 part-time jobs and just work for you. Why do I think that's better for me? Because the Bible tells me that you cannot serve 2 masters. You will love one and despise the other. So I said, you want to make more money than you're making now on Uber, putting miles on your car? If you just sell 1 job, you'll make $80 commission. I'm handing him the calls. So I don't have to hire an admin. I just took 30 to 40 calls a month off my plate, gave him the money, because I would have to hire a salesperson. You can't hire a salesperson for less than $50,000 a year. So when you're small, you have to get really creative and find a creative solution to the problem instead of being frustrated because you're stuck in this model that everybody told you. It's kind of like the same model that if you go to college and you work for 20 years and you work 20 years for a company, you get a pension, that's gone. Why are you stuck with a model? So I'm here today having a cigar, smoking, having my drink, my coffee. It's too early for scotch. I'm not Irish. Sorry guys. Sorry Irish. I didn't mean to offend. Have a pint, mate. Oh no, those are Australians. I'm sorry. I just offended another nation. I'm an equal opportunity offender. And if you're a micro business, you don't have access to all those resources until you get to a certain size. Then you can start your company culture. I got people that have 13 technicians, and they're like, my company culture is nothing like it was 3 years ago. It's totally different. What did I learn from hiring and firing over 15 to 20 people? Because every time I hire and fire, I learn something new. I take that as a very expensive lesson, and then I just apply it to the next one. See, to me, this is a game. And understand that I know the rules, and I'm willing to play the game, and I'm willing to bend the rules and change them. Because I don't have investors. I don't have people telling me this. I don't have partners telling me how I have to do things. I'm going to do it however the hell I feel like doing it. But I surround myself, like the Bible says, when you're going to go to war, you surround yourself with good advisors. So I listen to good advisors who are actually been where I want to go, instead of listening to all the people that just have an opinion about something they've never done. My friend, who has a company here, is growing by leaps and bounds, hired a guy. And I said, bro, I hired this guy and he's a manager. He was working as a manager in a hotel. Things got slow. He's a little burned out. What should I do? I said, hire him. Because that guy's going to be able to manage your route. He shows up at his house, the guy's cleaning out the truck every day, filling up the tanks, prepping for the next day. He doesn't have to tell him what to do. He doesn't have to train him on that. He says, bro, this guy's working out awesome. I haven't worked a day in 30 days. I've been at home this whole time. He's doing everything. And I still got X amount of money in the bank. And I don't have to worry. I said, you see what I told you? And this guy's a way better salesman than I am. I give him props. Joel's a way better salesman. He's a more cutthroat business guy than I am. He just finished giving his guy. He started him at 16 an hour. Just started paying him 20. Yet I have guys who are in the middle of Alabama somewhere telling me, I can't pay more than $13 an hour. My goal was to say, you can't find a creative way if you focus on one thing. I focused on creating more sales. I focused on increasing my prices so that I would have more gross profit. But understand that my gross profit is much higher than the average. Joel's gross prices are much higher than mine. So we're in competition to see who can raise their prices. But I learned to find my sweet spot to close more business. His sweet spot is much higher. Why? I'm going to give you the difference of just 30 miles. He's 50 miles from me, roughly right now, 50 miles. And I'm going to show you why you can't use somebody else's data for your business. Again, my market is a 50% rental market. That means that 50% of people in my market are renting right now a house, a townhouse, or an apartment. 65% Hispanic. So everything that you know about sales, that you learned from listening to, all these sales gurus, don't work on Hispanics. Second, the income is almost double. The household income is almost doubled in Broward as it is in Dade. $46,000 a year average household income versus $73,000 annual income. 35% Hispanic market, 65% Hispanic market. 35% home ownership versus 50% rental. His price on initial is double mine. His price on lawn is the same as mine. We got the same pricing because we've been comparing. But he pushes me, I push him. We're kind of like always in this. He calls me every day, bro, I'm doing this. I call him every day. He gives me crap, I give him crap. But he's a big boy, he can take it. I'm a big boy, I can take it. Iron sharpens iron. You need to find someone like that in your market, that's going to help you, that's doing better than you, or that has a different skill set than you, that can sharpen you and push you. But this isn't easy. What is a micro business? We're micro businesses, you and me. The average guy listening to me, under 10 employees, you're a micro business according to the SBA. Under 10 employees, you're classified as a micro business. You're not a small business. A medium-sized business is like 11 to like 50 employees. 50 to 500 and 499, or 100 to 499 is considered a small business. A large business is over 500 employees. You go to the PCT 100 today. And you will find companies, the bottom 30% don't surpass 100 employees. The top 10 to 13% fall in that category, which are your Orchid, your Terminex, Anticimex, Altera, of over 1,000 employees. And then you got that middle group, that bottom, the top 30%, which is in that 500 to 1,000 range, 500 range under that. It immediately drops. Go look at the PCT 100. You know, I got restaurants here like Cheesecake Factory that do 10 million a year on one restaurant and have 50 employees. In one restaurant. And yet, to get on the PCT 100, you got to have 15 employees, 3 million a year, I think, or it's up to like 3 point something million a year. The reality that most of you listening to me are never going to get to that. You don't have the training, you don't have the desire, you don't have the DNA. It's not going to happen. Do you even want it? I tell you what, I'm to the point where I don't want it, and watch how it happens. Because I'm just duplicating. I'm going my step at my pace. I could care less of how this is happening, but I get creative and I find a creative solution. And if I got to hire 3 part-time guys, if I got to hire another guy now because my guy is off on Wednesdays and Thursdays, and I can give that truck to somebody else who wants to work 2 days a week, I'll cut the deal. And if he's happy and I'm happy, what do I care? What does it matter what everybody else is doing? But I'm a manager. I know how to lead people. I know how to manage them. I know how to manage split shift and crews. I run restaurants. I had a food distribution business. I built a store with 3 college students over a summer. A store that never made any money. And 10 months in, 6 months in, it had $10,000 profit. And it never made money. And I did it with 3 high school kids over the summer. That's why I like working with you. People say, millennials don't want to work. Gen Xers, we're now into Gen Z. And now we went from Generation X to millennials to Generation Z. And now we have the Alpha generation, which my son and daughter are a part of. Because you're stuck doing it the way your grandfather said had to do it, where you have to work 50 hours a week. And I posed a question. And it's gonna be probably a longer podcast. I don't know how much time I got. I gotta pick up my son at 3:30. So I got about another 30 minutes. I'm going to read you some of these comments, which I think it's important. I think it's important that, and I don't mean to be mean-spirited about it, because I'm not. I usually don't have, I come across as being maybe like a little sharp-tongued. Because I'm a terrible writer. And therefore, it's funny how most of the people who criticize me on Facebook, I ask them, have you listened to my podcast? No, I don't listen to podcasts. I don't have to listen to anybody. I just know you're wrong. I'll show you. And this is from a person I consider a friend who has a very successful business, who has multiple businesses, who has, I think, way over 30 employees. She's a woman, meaning she, by birth. And I'm trying to find the comment. and this is another person who's also a woman, who I met at a Paul Bello conference. Her and her husband. The reason I'm reading women comments is because they're more emotionally intelligent than we are. We tend to be black and white, yes, no, cutthroat. And this is where I talk about. I made a post about how I'm going to see if I got my post here. When it comes to pricing, here's my post. When it comes to pricing costs and employee compensation, I'm competing in my market, not yours. Somebody actually took offense to this. He says, Peter says, can you actually do anything other than make stupid chalkboard posts? Yes, Peter. I can unfriend you. I can tell you to go after yourself. You can stop following me. But see, this is the kind of stuff that is, why do you even have to comment on this? And Jason, this is embarrassing. Don't be afraid of the criticism of other options. If you post something publicly, you should be open to the response, especially if you're going to brag. Just a word of advice to help. I still appreciate being your friend. I appreciate you too, Jason. Understand I'm not offended. But I am, it's a fact, because Maria, who is actually built a very successful business, wrote this: I don't even think the market matters. We discuss all the time that our pricing costs and compensations are ours. We have to operate within our own framework of expenses, values, etc. It has taken us a very long time to figure these things out. Truthfully, we are still working on it, but we know what we have to charge in order to meet our own financial obligations. See, that's an intelligent answer. It's the fact that you will tell me that, because I pay 25% and you get paid 26%, that you're getting paid more. Yeah, if you're in the Northeast, in Massachusetts somewhere, where you're getting taxed to death by the taxocrats in the People's Republic of Massachusetts, yes, that 1%, you're paid more than me. Here in Miami, it makes a big difference. Second, you said, some people tell me I'm getting paid a combination of 41%. Well, I'm paying a combination of 50 if you'll make the sale. Because it is cheaper for me to pay you that 25% than to take time for me to do it and to hire somebody else, which I don't have the capability of a full-time. So in the short term, it's like hiring a temp, which makes more sense than to hire a full-time person or even a part-time person. It is a temporary solution until I build up his route, and I still give him the commission if he does it, but he'll be so busy doing work that he'll choose to either become a salesperson because he can make more money as a salesperson, or he will stay as a tech and he doesn't have to do sales anymore because his route is now producing X and he can just focus on being a tech. So understand, if you make a stupid comment, I will shove that right up your tailpipe. I always have. All these guys that are following me, that know what I'm about, I'm going to read the really intelligent comment that another person who I happen to respect a whole lot, if I can get a stupid signal out here, let me take it off this. You're currently offline. Well, thank you. Let me see if I can actually get that post. No, Christian Adams post. Oh, here we go. Okay, Peter. So Peter is. I enjoy satire. I'm not trying to be an asshole. Or sorry, this is a family-oriented program. Okay, so Peter, he says I enjoy at least 85% of your content. Well, that's better than most. So Peter, I take it back. You're not an a-hole. You can stay on. You know, I mean, guys, you know, if you're gonna give me crap, understand this. I'm a Cuban that I grew up in Jersey, and then I grew up in Miami. And if you're gonna give me crap, I'm gonna give you crap back. Understand it. I love you, but I'm still gonna give you crap. I really wish I could find the post by. Hold on a second. Let me if I can find her, because I really thought this was valuable. Oh wait. Spelled it wrong. I wish I could find her comments on here because I think this is going to be. Hang with me, folks. I apologize for my incompetence at this moment, but my internet decides it's not going to cooperate with me on this. And by the way, I'm going to tag all of you that I mentioned your name in this so that you know that I talked about you, because I don't talk about people behind their back. I do it publicly if I'm going to do it. And I'm going to usually mostly talk about people. Here we go. I'm starting to get the feeds. I'm starting to get the let's see. I think it's on this one. Let me see. Here we go. So Sky wrote, and this is a long post, guys, so bear with me and bear with my reading skills as I'm highly uneducated. I always have a benefit of my employees attached to every revenue goal or annual milestone that we hit. I totally agree with you. I am that way too. Last year, I was able to significantly improve our health plan and the cost to our employees. Little context, this is a large company already. She's got, I think, 30 employees. She can correct me on this. I want to have her on the podcast, her and Maria, because I think they will add a ton of value to the audience. I'm trying to get them on. Now I like to give people more opportunity to accrue more PTO. Taking great care of employees should be part of every growth plan. The harder we all work, the more we invest. A greater reward is on the other side. Now, a lot of you who work for a lot of companies have never experienced this. Most of the time is, yeah, he just bought a $2 million house and a boat, and he won't even give us a raise. These companies are the exception to the rule. What kind of people do? Okay, so at least see here. Now I'm gonna create a reward. Now I'm gonna play devil's advocate with your goal, because I like to do that. LOL, and I appreciate you for it. If you pay the most in the industry for working the least amount of time in the industry, what would that do long term for the company culture? Well, if it was my goal to pay the most for the least amount of work, yes, that would be demoralizing. The problem is that I'm like you. I am outcome based of what they produce for me, for what they're being compensated, and understanding that I am paying the most in my market while other companies are still really paying crap rates. And that I'm going to keep going because I think she answers a lot of my questions. In the industry, what long-term company culture? What kind of people you start to attract, at least the amount for the most dollars? It seems to me a socialist idea and not a capitalist one. I say that to you only because I know you're not a socialist. As a Cuban, you probably have no love for those ideas because now they have negatively affected your country of origin. She's absolutely correct. I don't embrace. I'm a total capitalist. Also, let me share my most recent experience, and I think this is the most valuable. My most recent experience in my own business. During the pandemic, I faced people shortages, like the rest of us. I increased pay, offered more time off, relaxed my management style, and demanded less of my people in the name of empathy and fear of turnover. Ultimately, I know I have a less motivated team, and high performers left out of frustration of not being more efficient or productive, and lazier workers got the same reward as they did. That was unfair. I'm having to self-correct. It's a painful process. I know this will stir the pot, but if one person reads this and has a revelation that more money and time off does not automatically equal efficient and highly productive teams, then I saved one person. I totally agree. Strive for a culture, competition, aggressively hard workers that are hungry and pay them top dollar. The fact is, okay, I'm going to stop right there because I totally agree with her, and I've said in many of my podcasts, you got to hire A and B players and get rid of your C players. And that your A players should help your B players come up, but your C players, you need to get rid of them, because if you don't, they drag everybody else down. My goal is not to compensate the lazy person, but the person that is performing according to my KPIs and guidelines that I've set. So if my 35-hour-a-week technician who's going to college, and I'm giving you context now behind that, and I'm helping him, and he's helping me, his callbacks are low, he gets it done, that truck has 54,000 miles on it. He makes sure it's clean. He makes sure it's organized. He takes that vehicle in every week. Well, in the last week he slacked off and I gave him crap about washing the truck. But he takes it every time that the maintenance is due, takes it to the dealer, gets the maintenance done, gets the tires rotated, gets the oil change rotated. He just broke down last week because the battery went bad on him. I told him, go take it. He says, well, why don't I take it over so you don't have to come down because I'm really far. I had to go pick up my son. Take it over, go buy a battery. And I said, yeah, how are you going to change it? He says, well, I don't have any tools. I said, jump in, take it home, and then change the battery when you get it home. And that's what he did on his time off. And that truck does not have a scratch on it, doesn't have a dent on it, because he takes care of it as if it was his own. In other words, he takes care of that route. He takes ownership of that route as if it was his own in the time that he has it. Tell me how many of you have employees with that kind of character, and can you buy it by offering more money? No, he got the money after he proved to me that I could trust him. After he did the work, after he took the initiative, after he told me he needed to make more money, what could he do to make more money? And I said, I can give you this much more responsibility. See, you don't get that context from my post because I would have to give you an hour's worth of context for you to understand it. So you're absolutely right. The fact is that these people are already working at other companies, making top pay. So thinking of you offering a little bit more compensation will motivate abandon their current employer is also wrong, because the amazing people are loyal to their companies because they are given the opportunity to make top pay and perform at high level. Again, I'm clearing up that everybody's going to come from somewhere, because you don't just get to hire people with no work experience. The question is, if I see a kid at a Starbucks. I just saw this girl. I'm going to give you a testimony. I saw this girl. I was at a Starbucks. And people make fun of kids at Starbucks, you know, that they're baristas. I give them crap about it. But I stood there and they only had 3 people working the whole place. They were really short-staffed. And she somehow remembered everybody's face and who ordered what. And instead of calling their name out, she went around, grabbed the drink off the table, brought it to my table and said, "Here, Frank, I'm sorry about the wait." That's the kind of person I'm going to go after and say, "Hey, how much you making here? If I showed you how to do this so you can make $20 to $24 an hour, would you be willing to start out part-time with me to learn? Because you're going to make part-time more already than you're making here, I guarantee you." She was stressed because I saw her. And then on top of that, she was cleaning counters. She was cleaning the stuff. She wasn't sitting idly by on her phone, texting behind the counter. See, as a recruiter, that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for people that have the right attitude, and then hiring them, then training them, then investing in their outcome, then raising them, and then promoting them. But if you're in a 5-person company, the chances of you being a manager and upward mobility is just not there for a long while. Especially in a company like me that I'm not interested in growing really quickly. I got to get creative of how I compensate these people so I don't lose them. And say somebody's going to take them for another $1.50 an hour. Because that $1.50, when the gas prices hit the roof, and all of a sudden rents doubled on people, what do you leave them an option with? So the question, which I think is, I want to leave you with her question, because I know she's brilliant, and I know she's always encouraging, and I'm always thankful for that. So what does drive top performers to come and work for your company? That is the fundamental question that we need to ask ourselves. And what does it? At my pace, the only thing I have is this podcast. That people will hear it, see it. That I will do content that is marketing content that says, this is what I'm about right now. And are you interested in what I have to offer you? And if it is, then you're a right fit for me, and I'm a right fit for you right now. And later on, if you want to move up and I move up, can you move up with me? Are you willing to wear 2 to 3 hats to come work with me? And I'll compensate you all the way. And I'm taking some off my table to give you a little bit more, because it is far more beneficial for me in the short term as I'm building a company and building equity. Understand, you're not getting equity. I am. Right now, companies are paying 2.5 to 3.5 what the company's worth. If I build this thing to 2 to 3 million, it can potentially worth 6 to 7 million if I sell it. My long-term strategy is I'm building this for something more. So, one other person that commented that I want to comment on, and I think I have to go in. No, I still got time. Was my friend Seth Garber. And Seth is very good at what he does. Pest Daily, I recommend you subscribe. I'm going to read this one. I really like your perspective here, speaking about Sky. Franklin is awesome and does a ton for our industry. However, I honestly dislike the entire conversation around the technician compensation for a number of reasons. The only reason being that increasing technician pay and positioning the company as a top paying attracts technicians willing to leave extra $1 an hour, 1% commission over the years. I have learned that there's always someone out there who is willing to pay more So the talent we attract will also be the first to leave. Arguably, in Frank's scenario, I would think about creating a golden handcuffs concept that would build long-term technician by building up income based on retention and creating the concept around the type of equity split. Understand, this isn't something I would typically recommend. However, in Frank's case, he's really focused on high pay / compensation. This would keep the type of technician described above engaged and limit the ability to leave while sharing the risk with the company. Recently, I have seen and built comp plans in certain markets that technicians can make an incredible living. However, the plans are fair to the company and push performance along with quality. Just some thoughts. See both of you guys soon. So, guys, understand there is no perfect compensation. There is no perfect plan. There is no perfect anything. Perfection is only in your mind. And right now I'm cutting deals. I'm doing what I have to do. If I see that somebody has the aptitude to take on something else, then do it until I can hire that salesperson. I'm trying to cut a deal right now with a friend who left to Venezuela to go live. He speaks both languages. He was a salesperson for a top 10 company. He doesn't need a bunch of money. I can hire him in Venezuela to do all my inbound sales, not have to pay what I pay here, because all of these sales are done over the phone, over text. I sit here and I close most of these deals over text. It says it can't be done. That's what I do. You can't do it. I can do it. You know what? In the next 3 years, as my company dynamics change, some of the things that I do now, this cowboy shoot from the hip, let's do this right now because it works, I will have to have even more structure and I won't be able to do it. Some of the fun days that I'm having now will become more serious days. But understand, I think it's important for people to understand the context behind what I say. Not that I'm explaining myself to somehow defend myself, but you need the context. I hope this has helped you. Long ashes to you. My friends, I love you. Follow me for more insulting advice. Have a great day, guys. God bless you.